Okay, my ceiling fan is dying, so it's time to replace the old AC motor one. And it was kind of a mess getting it down. Here's what's left of it. And the wiring was kind of funky too, so I had to turn the breaker off so that I don't electrocute myself with the 220 here. And some of these fan blades and glass parts I can use as spares because the other three fans are the same model. They're working okay. But we wore the one out in the living room. So we want something that is new, has a DC motor in it, like this Panasonic, which is actually made here in Malaysia, as you can see. This one has Wi-Fi, so you don't need a controller. You can control it with your phone as well as the switch. It's got LED lighting of different modes. And it's made right here in Malaysia. It's a Panasonic. I had trouble finding it. I wanted to get a local store to procure it from and have them install it, but they have no idea when they'll be in, so I found it online, and now it's time to unbox this baby. But I might have wiring issues because I think when they put that one up there several years ago, I don't think they did the wiring correctly, so I need to do some checks on that. Okay, get it all wired up. For some reason, this flat has old wiring. Black goes to blue, red goes to brown. The ground from the old fan, it wasn't even connected. So now we have a proper ground, and I checked continuity all the way down to these points. We got the hot, the neutral, and the ground right there in that order. It's time to pull off the plastic. Well, we'll get that off in a second. Now, those two counter pins that help hold this thing up, I didn't like the one on the top. It looked pretty cheap, low quality. So I put a better one in there. And then we've got the white cable as a backup in case those counter pins fail so that the fan doesn't fall. It's a backup on the U-bolt. So that U-bolt that's coming from the ceiling is the main thing securing the load. Okay, not too bad so far. Okay, I managed to electrically wire it correctly. Everything is slung properly, so it's not going to come down if worse comes to worse. And it wasn't too bad putting it together. Pretty happy, except when I went to download the ceiling fan app on Google Play Store, it says it's not compatible with my device. And it did the same thing with my wife's Android phone too. So I shot an email off to Panasonic's little tech support to the guy who writes the app. And I'm like, hey man, I understand some things are going to be testing, but before you release a product, this product's been out a few months, they need to do field testing and they need to make sure people can use the app. The reason I bought this fan, not only because it has a DC motor, it's also reversible, it's quiet, it uses less power, but I really wanted the Wi-Fi, so I don't have to look for the remote. I can just use my phone to turn it on and off. If I leave the flat and forget to turn it off, I can turn it off with my phone. When I come back from being out and about, when I'm in my grab car, I can turn the fan back on. That way it's ready for me. Now, that being said, this puts out a lot of good air, so it really beats the old clunker fan that was AC and just lost all its rotation speed. It was still working, but it was so slow. And it was getting noisy. Every night while I'm working, it would go, rah, 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 rah. And that's very annoying. This one, all I hear is the wind. And that's what I want from a ceiling fan. I just want to hear the wind. I don't want to hear rah, 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 because that's annoying. So it looks good. And the good thing is it's installed, ready to go. I can use it with the little remote it came with. You can change the colors on the LED lighting, make it brighter, less. You can make it warm, make it cool blue, all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. And there's no stupid strings hanging down like on the old fans. So it makes the room look a little cleaner and makes the room look a little bit bigger as well. So I do like it. I just, the technical support, the Wi-Fi part, yeah, that's gotta be fixed. But anyway, in the meantime, I can use it as is. But when they get the Wi-Fi, I'll be a lot happier. Now, for some reason, I couldn't download the app from Google Play Store, and I even sent an email to the developer, and of course, no response, but I know there's always a workaround. So I had to go to a site that actually had the APK file and had to load an APK installer. So this is the app called Ceiling Fan. And once I had that and went through a registration process, and did another process to sync it to the fan, and it took me 3 attempts. Finally, by the 3rd attempt, I just cycled power to the fan, went through the screens slowly. Once I did that, then everything is in sync. So right now I can turn the fan on, and if we turn around, the fan is firing up. You can also adjust the speed. There are 10 different speeds, but when you think about it, there's really 21 different speeds because 0 is the speed, and there's also a reverse at 10 different levels. So that'd be 21 different speeds with 0 being in the center. You can also turn the light on and off. And there, the light's on. And you can change the mood of the light, the color temperatures, things like this. Make it a little more yellow. And it's a little more yellow. Might be kind of hard to tell on that camera. By the way, we're getting a little bit of rain here as the sun goes down on Thanksgiving. A little bit of rain moving in. So I like my new fan. Last night when I was doing work at my little workstation here, I had a nice breeze coming from it, and it uses a different kind of mode where it doesn't just blow the same air constantly. It'll cycle up and down a little bit, and it's very comfortable. You can't even hear it. All you really hear is the wind. There's no motor noise. This is a DC motor, and this is the future now. So eventually all your appliances will be Wi-Fi enabled. They'll talk to the manufacturer when they have problems. You'll be able to control it remotely, so I can turn the fan on before I'm even in the house. I can turn it off after I leave the house. But with the issues downloading the app from Google Chrome, that tells me a lot of people probably have the same issue and aren't even using the Wi-Fi part of this. And that's a real shame. They really need to fix stuff like that. It's too bad that Google puts too much control. Like it was telling me it wouldn't work on my device. Well, who are they to make that decision? That should be up to the app developer and Panasonic. Google should have nothing to do with it. But as usual with American tech companies, they want to control your little life. That needs to change. Now, I also went to the Apple Store, tried it on the iPad, and I couldn't do anything with that either. So I had to download the APK installer and locate online the APK file for Panasonic Ceiling Fan, not using the Play Store, not using Apple Store. Once I did that, everything started working. There are always workarounds. I will shoot an email off to Panasonic to let them know what I had to do so they can address this issue, because these things seem to be made simple, not difficult. We paid extra money for this fan. It's around $220 USD or something like that. And I couldn't find it in the shops. Everybody was out. No idea when they would get it in, so I had to order it online through Lazada. It showed up only 2 days after I ordered it. It took me about 2 hours to remove the old fan, put the new one up. I had never done this before. And it was an interesting process. I watched a few videos first to make sure I had a basic understanding, and it's locked up in there good. It's got a backup sling so that it won't come down if the bolt comes loose. Of course, the bolt is in there with a cotter pin as well. And we are good to go. So you don't need to touch the power switch on the wall. Just leave it on all the time. And you can control it with the phone or via the remote that comes with it. And this remote's kind of funny because that on-off button is just for the fan itself. It has nothing to do with the light. But I like my fan. As the other fans wear out in the house, we'll get some more Wi-Fi Panasonics. And why are these important? Well, they don't use much energy. And with the DC motors, they use less than the traditional AC ones. And it means we don't need to put on the aircon unit. It's very rare we need the aircon unit here. Because usually there's a good breeze, and then the fan gives you everything you need. Unless it's very humid between the monsoons. That's the only time you need that AC unit. 95% of the year, the fan does everything we need for proper climate control.
It's Black Friday here in Malaysia. Got the fan all working, and it's very important to have that Wi-Fi enablement. And why? One of the reasons, besides not only being able to control it with my smartphone, is that it has the ability to send performance data back to the manufacturer so they can build a better, longer lasting fan, so they can identify failures and issues before they happen. And when they tally the data from thousands of fans and users around the world, no real user input because the fan can send the data automatically, it makes this a better world. The old AC powered fan, was using less energy than the electric air conditioner, the mini split, and the new DC fan uses less power than the old AC motor. Engineers continually make the world a better place by driving productivity and efficiency. There is no global warming. Get that out of your head. And even if there were, it takes engineers to solve these things. So, go to college, get an engineering degree. Love ya.
Marina, Aquamarina, what are these strange enchantments that start whenever you're near? Marina, Aquamarina, why can't you whisper the words that my heart is longing to hear?